Hello, you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. I'm gonna move a little closer. So, my name is Christabel, your favorite transgender South African. I think I'm like one of the only few ones on this frickin' YouTube. I've been looking for all the others. I just wanted to say, hey, how are you guys? I hope you are having an incredible start to the week. Now, I'm gonna try and keep this video short, and you know that's always code for the video is probably gonna be long because I'm long-winded. Now, before I get into it, I just want to thank everyone who's recently subscribed. I'm almost at 1,000. Alright, so I'm going to try and make more videos, just so that when I do make videos, there isn't this like awful pause and then I end up making an hour video. I'm going to try and break it all up into 20-minute intervals. I think I can do that. So, interracial dating. Now, feels like such a weird way to start a video, but yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Why so many people date interracially, and why specifically people within the LGBT community they coon their way out of their communities and jump into the first white person they see. So I just want to talk about interracial relationships, my experiences, why I specifically dated out, and what my dating preferences are now. So, growing up, obviously, I grew up in post-apartheid South Africa when the country was still trying to figure out how to deal with race, how to interact. And yeah, like I remember in the first grade, one of the first crushes I actually had was this little blonde kid that was in my class. He was super sweet. And yeah, I think that was probably one of the first crushes I ever had. So I think from an early age, I could always recognize that, people that were different colors looked good or could look good or were attractive. Now, how much of this was influenced by the fact that I lived in what had been a white supremacist country, and I was hearing through media a lot of messages that, if you looked white, that was the ideal. So I think in my younger years, obviously I knew nothing about politics, about critical race theory, nothing like that. I was just kind of like, oh, this person looks cute and that person doesn't look cute. And as I grew up, I remember I was the cousin who grew up in the suburbs, the cousin who pronounced words funny, the one, the cousin who grew up knowing how to swim, because, we had a pool and stuff like that. So there was always this joke that I was trying to align myself with white people because there was some form of self-hatred within myself. And I hated it when people would say that. It would annoy me. It would annoy me. It would annoy me. So if ever I was criticized about my preference to date or be with white guys, I'd become really, really defensive. But as I grew older and older and older, and I mean especially from ages 12, 13, 14, that's when my crushes were almost exclusively white. Now, I'm of the belief that if you love yourself and if you can look at yourself in the mirror and think that you're good and wonderful, you will automatically find other people that look like you attractive. I mean, it's most of us as human beings date within our own group. But from the ages of 13 at this point, I was only looking at the white boys and very vocal about this. Well, not vocal that I was looking at white boys, because remember, I'm transgender, so I had to hide that I liked boys. But I was very vocal about wanting to be with white people. Now, whenever somebody does this, us as black people, we already see through all of that mess. We already see through all of that defensiveness. I grew up in a family where I had the darkest skin. My beautiful mom that I love so much would often make jokes about how dark I was. You know, I heard people saying that, oh my gosh, you're so black, it's like you're into witchcraft. Called Tar Baby, called Midnight Spot. I remember I had a close family relative that I love who, whenever I would say something in English, she would sing the song from the movie Sarafina, and the song goes, Safasa Pelisiza Sinyama, and that means, oh God, the black race has died. I look back at that, but as a kid, I hated it. I hated it. They knew that I had an issue with being dark-skinned. Let's call a spade a spade. When I was a child, I had my self-hatred was so intense, and it came from different places. Number one, being the darkest in my family and being the butt of all of the jokes. From the moment I was a baby, I remember my mom that I love so very, very much, when I was born, she was taken aback at, you know, my African features, my nose that was a little bit more broad, my lips that were just like giving Angelina Jolie a run for her money, my skin that was near velvet black. She was like, what in? Who cursed me, girl? She used to call her friend over and they would like basically roast me as a baby. Girl, I wasn't even 2 months out the cooch, and I was being roasted because I looked so African and black. Now, I would not have known any of this had it not been told to me all my life. I mean, I remember walking from the library, you know, with my mom, and there was a friend of hers who basically was like, oh my gosh, why is your child so black? And my mom just joking and me like, you know, these kids be acting crazy. They play out in the sun. And in Kosa culture, often we roast each other. And unfortunately, that's just a part, like we like to play rough sometimes with each other. Now, add a sprinkle of narcissism into that, and oh baby, it can turn into something really bad really, really quick. So of course I grew up with colorism. And for the white people listening that don't know what colorism is racism's cousin. They're cousins. Colorism basically is the belief where two people from the same race, the belief is that the lighter one is better. So that's colorism. There's also texturism, there's featurism. It gets deep with the isms. But yeah, there is a lot of that. And my sister, obviously, you know, she did modeling, and she was just, dear Lord, like my sister had the prettiest skin. She was that yellow Sierra, kind of like golden. She was light. And it would annoy me when she'd be sat there doing her makeup. Never mind the fact that, I'm the trans one and I have to not only be roasted because I'm dark, now I'm being roasted, like, because I'm, like, acting all girly. It was a lot. But I'm, like, watching her and I'm like, I wish I could do my makeup, girl. And she's like, let's look in the mirror and see who has lighter skin. And what can you say to that? But there's nothing. There's nothing you can say. The only thing that happens for a person like me, or for many people who grew up like me, who grew up in family spaces that were not celebrating dark skin, people like me become the future divestors, the future colorists, and they become exactly what it is that they hated. They basically get recruited to the darkness. It's like, come over here, you tar baby, you won't. You're gonna fit right here with all this, with the darkness. So I would say I became full-on colorist when I was about 12, 13, all the way up. And it was intense. Like, I remember we would use different, beauty products to maintain our lightness. There's this product called Color Mine, and Color Mine we used to pronounce it calamines. Sana kofagi calamines. Yeah. So we used to call it calamines. And basically it just cleared your skin off blemishes. And if you already, it was kind of like vitamin C, girl. It didn't do that much. If you were, it would not take you anywhere. If you were trying to get to the light streets, your dark self would be applying that repetitively. And that's what I did, thinking that, if I used my mom and my sister's beauty regimens of like egg mask, of like, like putting in some lemon and some calamine, that I would be that golden brown and I would move away from being so dark. But all of those attempts never worked. And that's when I would, unfortunately, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, self-mutilate. And yeah, like I remember being in a bathtub with a blade, basically trying to remove, this is gonna sound crazy, remove the, the darkness from me, because I was in a state that I was convinced that the reason I was experiencing, I was a scapegoated child. The reason that I was being scapegoated must be because I'm dark skinned. The reason that I was being bullied at school must be because I'm dark skinned. And then there was the whole gender confusion. And now, to add a spanner to the works, us Black people, the Black community is often very homophobic and transphobic. But the people who seem to be open and accepting of me, they were my Chinese neighbors and that white nice couple that, used to let me play with their kids' dolls. It seemed to me that me being accepted was contingent on me being associated with white people. Now, I then become Mormon. High on the mountain top. I become Mormon, and further indoctrination, because if you know anything about the Mormon church, you know what they thought of the Lamanites and the Nephites and the... I'll make another video. But I become a Mormon and experience a harsher form of racism and colorism than I'd ever experienced. Because, like, once you're that beaten down, you're going to run thinking the white people are going to hold you. And it's going to be the funniest thing because you're going to run to them doing your little Candace Owens moment and being like, the negress! The negress! They take me! And you'll get up in this space with white palm-colored individuals that we love, talking bad about your people, and they're gonna look at your goofy self and be like, ugh, the comfort we have around you. Now, can you clean this up? Take care of my baby. But I was doing this back and forth, and I then get to a point where I leave that church, I transition from male to female, do the whole spiel in university of going to doctors and hormones and self-learning, all of that. Cool. But what I don't do, what remains a hindrance, or actually, it's funny, I realized that as I was transitioning, it was imperative that I learn to love myself, because I got to a point where I was doing, like mirror work, trying to affirm myself, trying to tell myself that I'm okay, that I'm beautiful, but it was hard for me to allow those thoughts to fully penetrate within me because I had this inherent belief that I was somehow bad because I was, like Black African. And I had to get to a point where I divorced myself from this stupid idea that my beauty standard, my beauty notion is Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, who else did I think was really pretty? Oh my gosh, Jessica Simpson and the Olsen twins, Ashley Morristow. Mary-Kate had her moments. Who else? Megan Fox. Like, they were my icons. I wanted to look like them. I wanted to be with them. I wanted to be them. I wanted to sit there at the table and be invited with my negless self. But the thing is, I would never be comfortable and I would never feel that I could love myself unless I looked like them. And I was logical enough to know that that was a non-reality. And I was also way too vain to sacrifice my pretty Black looks for artificial or painted on or kind of like, I don't know, like, when a person does a surgery from African to Caucasian, seldom do they look all the way good. Sometimes if they get to a happy medium where they're still Black, they can kind of look good, but more often than not, we know what happens and we know the illnesses that follow. So I had to give up on that silly ass dream and give up on those delusions. So how I did that, before I could love myself, I needed to have Black role models, Black female role models that I could look at and be like, girl, you pretty, I want to look like you. And you know who they were? Naomi Campbell. Naomi, I threw a phone in her face, Campbell. Kelly Rowland, when she sang Dilemma, and in the beginning of the video, she Nelly sends a message on Microsoft Excel and gets mad because she didn't get a response. Kelly was everything I needed. Jamelia, when she sang Superstar in that dress and she was just gyrating for the world. Girl, like, once I started to see beauty in that, I could see beauty in myself, and I could then fully, like, recognize, oh wow, this is pretty, this is beautiful. But I was still held back by this fear and this notion that I could get to a point where I loved myself and I looked at myself and I was like, I look schmegalicious. But do you really love yourself when you don't love your community? And the answer to that is a hell no. No, you don't. I'd gotten to a point where I thought I was pretty. I thought I was confident. I thought that I was like that girl. But the reality is I was still so scared to date within my community because of so many lies that I had not only been told about myself, but that I had been told about people. Let's not forget that I'm genetically born male, meaning that by rejecting black men, I'm essentially rejecting what I look like for so many years of my life. You know what I mean? What I used to, when I fill in the form, write myself as. It is an inherent denial. It is an inherent denial that the LGBTQ plus, and just by the way, there is no LGBTQ plus. It's the LGB and it's ST, but for purpose of this video, I'm going to say that whole thing. That's why you'll find so many, melanated black trans girls only dating white dudes. Only. And not even dating the cute ones, to be so for real. We'll see so many T-girls, trans girls, accepting and tolerating behavior that they would never accept or tolerate from men within their community, holding white men as though they are these white savior gods who will always love and protect them. There are so many T-girls, trans girls, gay men who have all of this vitriol and hatred for other queer people who only date black people and talk about how, oh, y'all be dating the DL men, like y'all, ooh, y'all in Blackie Stan. Ooh, my Brad got it. Babe, you work at Amazon and your Brad stays at home and lives off a disability. So there is this belief that as being a trans person, I'm going to walk into a white space and I'll be safe there. Like, there'll be less likelihood of me being clocked, me being handled, me being manhandled, me being assaulted, or any of those things. And I can tell you that what so many queer black people fail to understand is that we're not like queer people that aren't black, in that we experience the intersectionality of discrimination, meaning it hits you at all ends. You can walk in a snatch looking all good and taste. Never mind their snacks. You can walk in and be the snack, all decked out, looking fine like that. Walking into a white space and then experience misogyny, racism, transphobia. You can walk in doing the most as the black trans next to your rusty, crusty first day on her hormones, actually forgot to take them cis, into the same space and experience dehumanization. So for me, I got to a point where I ran through so many white guys, you would have thought I was trying to win an Olympic medal. And I was doing that believing that my salvation rested in their arms, but really my salvation has always been within myself. And once I actually started, I am going to say it. Once I started to educate myself and really question and challenge those racist beliefs that I had within myself, once I started to question my own internalized transphobia, my own internalized racism, my own internalized colorism, once I was able to dismantle those bit by bit, it was then that I was able to look around and be like, Chrisabel, where is your dick pointing the hardest at? date where it's pointing. Don't worry. Like, there's so many, like, I can honestly say this. When you date within your community, when you do date within your community, there is a common understanding. You start within the same foot. You start within the same foothold. Unfortunately, when you date outside of your community, there are more chances for cultural misunderstandings. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying date one or the other. I'm saying follow where your truth lies and stop using the excuse that you're safer in Brad's arms. Like, we're tired of those lies, girl. Please. The divestors. And I used to call myself a divester. I just pray that one day I will be forgiven for ever calling myself a divester. I'll make a video about what divestment is. But this video is supposed to only be 20 minutes. I wanted it to be 15. Bye, you guys. We'll talk again. I want to make a part 2, or rather touch on some bits that I wanted to go off on tangents in, but yeah. I love you. Love is love, but don't date for the wrong reasons. I'm just going to end with that. Bye.